Hi everyone, and welcome to this presentation on eating and drinking during and with fatigue. My name is Amber Thomas. I'm a registered dietitian, a cancer nutrition specialist, and an online nutrition coach. Today I want to give you some tools and some tips that can help you eat better and drink better when you're feeling extremely tired during cancer treatment. So let's get started. First thing I want to talk about is eating and drinking enough. How do you know? Great question. So hopefully your cancer center has a dietitian on the team, and you can talk to this person about your calorie and protein and hydration fluid needs that will help keep you strong and nourished during treatment. But I want to give you a little bit of an idea about what we look for and how we can help you make sure that you're eating and drinking enough to keep the fatigue at bay as much as possible. A note about that. Fatigue is incredibly common during cancer treatment. All sorts. Chemotherapy, radiation therapy, immunotherapies, and certainly like bone marrow transplants, things like that. Incredibly common. Eating and drinking enough will not make the fatigue disappear. It will, however, support your body during this time, and if you don't eat and drink enough, it can definitely increase that level of fatigue. So keep that in mind. But we want to make sure that you're eating enough. So when you're super tired, it can be pretty hard to find the energy to eat. You may not be eating meals that are the same size as you're used to, or you may not be eating as frequently as you're used to. So we want to make sure we address that. If you know you're both not eating enough and not eating enough at meals, let's look at some different strategies that can help. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But also variety of meals. So having foods that sound good can be very helpful. We want to make sure that we're addressing any of the other side effects that can happen from other treatments or from your treatment, other things that can happen. Taste changes, mouth sores, stuff like that will definitely come first as far as nutrition strategies to make sure that we are helping with pain and foods that maybe won't taste nearly as bad as others. Let's keep that in mind. And then, are you drinking enough? So staying hydrated can definitely make your body feel better and work better. What are your fluid goals, and what kind of fluids can you drink? So with this, we want to make sure that you liberalize, or you give yourself maybe more fluid options than you would normally do, just to make sure you stay hydrated. And a quick point on weight changes. So sometimes we'll see extra and increased fatigue when people lose a lot of weight during cancer treatment. That's for a number of reasons. A lot of it comes from the muscle tissue that you lose with weight loss during treatment, and that can affect how strong you are, if you feel like getting around, getting up and out of bed, and that can also affect your immune system. But know that weight gain is also a possibility in some cancer treatments. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can still feel those incredible levels of fatigue if your weight is changing both up and down. So here are some food ideas I'd like to get you started with. If you're tired, you probably don't want to cook, and it may even be more challenging to chew. So salads and, really hearty sort of grain bowls, stuff like that, may not sound very good because the act of chewing can be very fatiguing. So what can we do with that? Let's choose things that are soft, that are easy to chew, and doesn't require as much effort to eat. So I've included some food ideas here, a list of different sorts of foods that may go down easy, things that are easy to kind of keep on hand, smaller servings, larger servings, depending on how you're doing throughout the day. But, eggs are great, the soft fruits, meats that you can have with sauces can definitely help. Those sauces just add some moisture and help the food potentially be softer and slide down easier. Then, you know, a lot of the dairy foods work quite well. So yogurts, cottage cheese, ice cream, stuff like that. Liquids. You know, chewing seems like a chore, and we just need to get the nutrition. Nourishing liquids, fluids, can definitely play their part here. So homemade shakes, homemade smoothies, soups, savory. So if you're really tired of the sweetness, and I get it, I've counseled so many people who are just tired of all the sweet options for drinks. Good news is you can make your own savory drink with a lot of the same kind of components, enough calories and protein to help. What I usually recommend with that is blended soups. So let's say we're going to take some of our favorite root veggies, carrots, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, any of that kind of stuff. And we're going to roast them up, cook them nice and soft. Kind of gives them a little bit of sweetness, but it really helps break down some of those fiber in there. And then we blend it. We send it through the blender, food processor, works kind of, and then you can add, you know, whatever kind of base, so liquids to it to make it into a blended soup. Great thing about that, we can also add different levels of calories and protein to that with things we can add in. So consider adding a little bit of oil, a little bit of sour cream perhaps. I've had people use protein powder in soups. Make sure you get the plain, because chocolate with veggies or vanilla might be a little strange, but there are options there too. And then you can always use those ready to drink supplements like Ensure, Boost. They make a whole bunch now. Different varieties, different kind of nutrient profiles and ingredient profiles to kind of meet you where you're at and see what you want to do with that part. So as I mentioned before, food strategies like these that are listed on this page can help make sure that you're eating and drinking enough. So the mini meals, small frequent meals, can be very helpful. It can be very tiring to try to eat, you know, 2 to 3 large meals throughout the day. So breaking it up into smaller servings, but eating more often can help with that. And then saving those no calorie or low calorie liquids to drink between your meals can save stomach space for the actual food that's providing much more nourishment. So if you're drinking water or broth, juices, stuff like that, enough to just help your food down, great. But otherwise, we want to save those liquids for between your meals to help you get all of the calories and protein that you need. And again, as I mentioned before, those high calorie fluids, those high protein fluids can definitely act as a mini meal. So keep that in mind if it's just too tiresome to eat and chew and spend a long time at the table. There are some other non-food strategies that I just want to touch on briefly, and I'd like you to talk to your medical team about these options. So the first one is just being active. So there's a lot of studies about movement and increasing your physical activity during treatment helping with fatigue. Now that's all very personalized and dependent on how strong you are, what kind of activities you've done before cancer treatment, and what makes sense right now. So address that with your medical team for sure. But if you've had any sort of surgeries or you feel like you have some limitations in the way your body can move, there's a possibility that a recommendation, a prescription for physical therapy could be a good idea in this case. So talk to your medical team about that. Also, keep in mind that if you have family and friends who want to help, shopping, cooking, those sort of things that can be very tiring, see if you have someone who can help you out those functions. You know, getting together meal plans or recipes, things that sound good, and providing those to your family and friends can be helpful as well. Just so that they're kind of meeting you where your taste buds are. You know, if you have other side effects going on, certain foods may not sound good or may burn. So keep that in mind, that you can be part of that process by providing them ideas and things that sound good to eat. And finally, a note about food. So when you don't feel like eating, and you may have some other side effects going on, I want you to consider increasing the options of foods that you have available to yourself. So if you're on any kind of strict eating plan right now, you're trying to follow certain kind of diet plans that don't allow for certain things that sound good and are appetizing and appealing, I would encourage you to put that aside for right now and focus on getting nourishment. Nourishment from any foods and from all foods to help keep your body strong. Also, when you're really tired, you may not notice a very strong hunger signal. So you may not really feel like you have much of an appetite. And in this case, food is definitely a form of self-care. We want to make sure that you stay nourished. And in these cases, it can be really helpful to schedule times to eat and drink. I sure hope this information was helpful, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now. If you would like to learn more about my nutrition coaching programs, visit my website at www.cancernutritionsolutions.com. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.